such a pleasure to be here and to share my thoughts a little bit with all of you on this celebration of Women's Day and women educators and education in general. To Brainfeed and to Bhavani, who's sort of like to invite me here, I would like to express my deepest gratitude because I think Montessori education, which I represent in the country, is often not so well known among the various, the kind of educational work that all of you do. So to represent this little corner of work that we do in Montessori education is a great pleasure. And I'd like to begin by reintroducing to many of you who may already know Maria Montessori herself. Maria Montessori was an educator of great innovation, if you like, innovative method, which was actually came into being in 1907. She was a woman born in 1870 who was, broke glass ceilings at every stage of her life. Montessori was a doctor in Italy. She was a single mother in Italy at a time when Victorian model grounds were very much in vogue. And it was very important, I think, to remember that from such revolutionary thought also comes great science. Montessori was a scientist, and her method of education was evolved through scientific observation of children, empirical evidence gathered by creating conditions in an environment, observing human beings as though they were a species which, like other forms of life, had their own evolutionary path. And through this observation, through this empirical observation that was gathered, created a method by which we could support natural development of the child. So Montessori method is not really an educational method. It is beyond curriculum. It is not restricted to a curriculum at all. It is really the support of a young child to have a good life. And so as a result, I feel that many of us have talked today about innovation and technology. Montessori was at the cutting edge of her own at her own time. She was a cutting edge scientist. She was a cutting edge. She studied genetics. She studied anthropology. She was an academician. She wrote papers. She spoke all over the world. So she was a pioneer of her own time. She also, as earlier speakers today spoke, she spoke about equal pay for equal work in the 1900s, early 1900s. She also talked about the right of women to vote. So it was a time when she began. They were a pioneer as a feminist. She was a pioneer for choice and freedom in education. So today I would like to say a little bit about a Montessori school, a school where innovation is possible from the time the children are born. The child is born an explorer. The child is born to explore his environment. And the adult environment that surrounds the child from the time of birth only prevents and puts obstacles in the child's natural curiosity. If a child climbs a staircase, we say no. If the child goes into the balcony, we say no. If the child touches sand, we say no. If he goes in the garden and touches the flower, we say there'll be thorns, there'll be ants, and we say no. So the obstacle in the child's natural ability to innovate and create starts at birth and by parents who love the child. This obstacle does not happen because of hatred. It does not happen due to a reason to cause an obstacle in the child's path. It doesn't happen with hatred. It doesn't happen with a opportunity. It's for oppression. It happens due to love, due to the need that the parent has to protect the child from what we see as danger. But if we think about life and if we think about where the child is, a Montessori school is created for exploration. It is created without classrooms, without homework, without subjects, without exams, without any of the paraphernalia that goes with what we call school education today. So an innovative system of education, an innovative practice in education was 1907. And it's still today, there are 30 to 50,000 schools all over the world which practice Montessori education, where there are no classrooms. It's an environment, a community of children of mixed stages. So children between 3 and 6, children between 6 and 9, children between 9 and 12, children who are aged between 12 and 15, they live in an environment guided by adults who understand them and give them opportunities to live in their community for 3 years, not for 1 year, 3 years, and to learn on their own, to learn with freedom of choice, but the freedom which always comes with the responsibility of living in a community. The baseline of a Montessori classroom is others before me. So to put others first, to actually be aware that other people have needs, is the first transition that the child makes when the child comes from the home where everybody loves the child to the Montessori environment, where he begins to understand he is one among others and all his actions have an impact on the rest of the people in his world. So increasingly, when we talk about the principle of freedom and the principle of choice, all aspects of human understanding, human life, all that the child needs for the future is based in society. So education in a Montessori environment is never, ever considered as splintered or fractured subjects. Subjects of all kinds come together in the community and the reality around the child. So if it's a garden, then the child has access to responsibility, to where the watering can is found, how to fill the water, how to pour water for the plants that need it, not for the plants that don't need it, and also to put back everything that was used in this exercise all the way back to a good finish. So how to begin, how to end. These are things that the children actually begin to acquire from 2.5. By the time they are 6 and they are really scientists in the world, their environment is full of things that they explore with their hands and with their minds. The hand and the mind are never divided in a Montessori environment. So the working in a group, working together, working to listen to each other, working to engage in good discussions in which you can enrich yourself through listening to others, these are given great importance from the time the children are young. So this idea that higher education is important is true, and definitely the child becomes ready to live in higher education much closer to adulthood than he is as a child. But we believe in a Montessori environment that everything is laid in the years between birth and 6. Your whole life, your whole foundation of personality, your understanding of the regulation of impulse to exercise the will, to become strong characters, to be able to pull aside your own need, put it aside and go to the help of somebody else. This becomes the focus in a Montessori school, whether you're doing maths, whether you're doing biology, whether you're doing geometry, whether you're doing whatever the subject that you have chosen to take on and work at. This will happen in a group. This will happen with respect for others. This will happen without violence. No violence whatsoever. So in such a setup, in such an environment where the materials on the shelf guide the child, the teacher's role, yes, the role of the adult, if you like, is to put the child in contact with his learning. It is not to teach the child at all, because we believe that at every stage of development, from birth to 6 to 12, 12 to 18 years, when the children are adolescents, the children are guided from inside by nature to teach themselves. All human beings, we believe, can teach themselves. So to facilitate this process of self-learning, the environment must be conducive, and the environment will change depending on the needs of the individual. Just as for a person in a restaurant, we have to create conditions so that the users of that restaurant will meet their needs. Just like in an operating theatre, the needs of the doctor and the person undergoing the surgery must be met. Just in a kitchen, where the convenience of the cook must be met, the conditions must be ready, the placement of the objects and the physical environment must be ready, so that the spiritual environment is ready for the child to grow. The spiritual environment here, I mean anything that is non-physical. Yes, the attitudes, the biases that we have as teachers. If you tell a child who's carrying a jug of water, be careful, be careful, be careful, it will fall, you'll fall. Then what is the environment giving them? It is giving them the idea that no one trusts me. So to be capable, the environment has to believe, yes, of course you can do that. So when the child puts food in their mouth, what do we tell the child? No, you can't, you'll make a mess, right? So the problem of force feeding, which in our culture grows from birth to 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, 12 months, 1 year, 2 years, 6 years, 12 years, parents still putting food in the child's mouth. Where does that force feeding come from? Where does that external? It comes from love. So whether you are teachers, whether they are parents, these adults who are in the child's world need to understand the child and need to help the children at different stages of development to receive what they need to teach themselves. So a Montessori environment does not change and shift every year. The community remains as stable as possible for 3 years, where with one teacher, no subject teachers at all the way till 18, there are no subject teachers in the child's life. There is a teacher who guides the child not on what to learn, but how to learn. Yes, so the entire emphasis of the Montessori class from the time, actually we have a environment even for children who are just walking. So about 12 months, 18 months to about 2.5 years, and then 2.5 to 6 years, then age 6 to 9, 9 to 12. In any of these classrooms, the children are guided on how to learn. There are no subject teachers, and the subjects are as many as the children are interested in, and also which come out of their everyday living. So whether it's composting, whether it is the composting which gives an avenue for the children to get chemistry, whatever you like, yes, physics, to build the composting pit, to look at the history of composting, any of the ideas that can come out of that interest in their life, the children take forward to know how to learn. If you, I think some people here talked about higher education, to prepare children for higher education. It is not enough to tell them that this, you have to follow your curiosity. It is not enough to tell them about innovation. It is about helping them innovate. And in fact, I would go one more step further. I would say not getting in the way of their natural curiosity, their natural ability to innovate, their natural ability to vary things and to also learn things with responsibility and rigor.